Oh, you need your hat on.
Okay. Thank you, sweetheart.
Before you show off your...
Let's see. My lovely do.
Here.
My
Well, some
hat
people
and
call it
curlers. Let's see here. Do I have glasses? Oh, they're over there, aren't they?
Uh-huh. There we go. I hear us.
Yeah, look right there. So I do have some questions for you guys today. Running a little bit behind here. Had a few technical issues. Had to do a complete shutdown and pull everything back up. One of those ridiculous issues that you don't know until it's too late to try and
Did
fix.
you try turning it off and turning it back on?
Yeah. That's the beginning and the end of our technical expertise.
Did it work?
Apparently. Hello. Scott is on here. Thank you so much for joining. We got Brian G. Thank you, sir. We got the DW Low. We got the William. We got the Marty. We got the Manny. Woo! Very nice. Can you guys hear me okay? Testing. This is an audio check. We got Robert Reynolds. Very nice. We will officially be going live here in just about 1 minute and some change.
30 seconds.
Minute and 30 seconds. So I was thinking I might try to do some, we've been talking about trying to do some hobby videos where we actually build some of the terrain. I don't know if that's of any interest to anybody or not, though. You know, like the vegetation, groups, I don't know. Is that just too silly to do as a video? This sort of stuff like this, it's really just about finding some stuff and gluing it down. It's not like it's complicated. I don't know. Maybe there's tricks and tips I can give you along the way.
Yeah, like how do you get it to stick?
But it might be fun. So thought about trying to do some of that stuff too. Talk about some of the scratch building projects that we do. And a long time ago, gosh, it's got to be, 10, 12 years ago, Mila and I did a group of scratch built buildings that we still use fairly often, those old Adobe buildings. Mm-hmm. So that's a really quick and easy project, in my opinion, for folks that want to, get into trying to build their own terrain. I'd like to show you really, how easy that is. It's and incredibly inexpensive as well. Is it time?
It is time.
Okay. Hey, everybody, this is Dave here at Pulp Alley, and I am with the world's most dangerous Bessy. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Pulp Alley Miniatures Tabletop Skirmish game. And we're going to talk about some of the new things that are available now. We're going to talk about some rules questions. So this would be a really good time to get your rules questions in. You can type them into the chat, and then Bessy hopefully will spot them as they're scrolling up through there, and she can pass them on to me. And then I also have a couple questions, a couple things that I'd like your opinion on. So I'd like to know what y'all think about it, and get some extra opinions on the matter. Been seeing anything good out there? There's a whole slew of, I guess, interesting shows. Have you guys been watching The Witcher? What do you guys think about that? There was Wheel of Time. Am I saying that right? Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time. We tried to watch that for a few episodes. Some of these things just kind of, I don't know, for whatever reason, we end up not watching it after a while. What?
Nothing.
What is it?
Well, you put the kibosh.
On what?
Witcher.
On Witcher? I don't know. There was that last episode that we watched, and I don't remember actually which one it was, but it just felt so much like a soap opera. It just felt so soapy, and it just did not, encourage me to want to watch another episode. It was just.
We didn't even finish that one.
We didn't even finish the episode, so maybe it got better later on. I don't know, but yeah, it just really, I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, I probably would have finished it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't really upset when we turned it off either. So
Yeah. And what about Wheel of Time? How come we haven't gone back and watched any of that?
because that one is definite soap opera.
It was what?
Definite soap opera.
Soap opera. Okay.
Very soapy.
Very soapy. So we've been enjoying like the old classic Doctor Who's. Soap opera, that is exactly what so many shows are becoming. Wheel of Time, I found boring, Scott says. Yeah, I'm slogging through Witcher. I think it stinks. The Rite of Surprise is the dumbest thing I've heard. But my daughter likes it, so we go forward. You know what? Good on you, man. Good on you. Absolutely. Marty says, I find vegetation tricky. I have piles of plants here I've been collecting, but then I look at the blank CDs and freeze up. Okay. So I'll maybe that would be worth doing then. I think there are a few tricks to it that I might be able to pass on. So make it kind of fun and give you a reason to kind of maybe take it on. Let's see. Mr. Scott had a question. I am a fan on The Witcher.
But he's played a lot of the video game.
Okay. Bunch of hours.
And read the books.
Yep. I think I tried to play the video game early on, and for some reason it wouldn't work on my computer, so I just kind of gave up on it. But fans of the game love the show and keep telling me all the things the show doesn't tell me. Yeah. So Scott had a good question, and it's up there in the chat. He actually typed it into the chat for this, but I don't know how many of you could see it or scroll up through it. And he was talking about recovery checks. He was asking, do they roll their current health or is it always on a D6? And normally you just use a die 6 to roll their recovery checks. And that was so almost regardless of what their health is, they roll a D6 for their recovery checks. Now there's an ability out there, and I don't remember what it's called, something like regeneration or something like that ups your recovery dice to a D8. But so just like everything in Pulp Alley, there's something to break that rule. But normally you roll a D6 for your recovery check, regardless of what your current health is. Now, the interesting story behind that is that we play tested that quite a bit. And I think that was one of those things that was fairly late in the play testing that we finally decided on. That was one of those last things that we were really looking at. And there was a lot of players that we play tested exactly what Scott was doing, was rolling whatever their current health was. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that was a direction that I was kind of leaning as well. And then the players kind of sold me on the idea that by just having it be a D6 for everybody, one, it's a very straight rule that way. You roll a D6, and if you get a success, then you go up. You don't have to have the health involved in it at all. And it also helps to flatten the difference between those big characters and the little characters. that's kind of why I decided to finally go with the D6 route, is that it tries to minimize or reduce some of the advantages that those big characters have. So that's one of the reasons why we went with the D6. Now, oh doggone it, I can't remember. Somebody was asking a question about rules for talking, and I didn't really quite understand the context of the question, but he was asking, are there rules for characters talking? And I think it kind of has to do. I assume it must be for like sharing important information during the scenario. And if that's something that is important to the scenario, then it's simply treated as a plot point, right? So a lot of times there are plot points out there that really you're just going up to and you're attempting that plot point, and it's assuming that you're questioning or talking to that person. Let's say you're trying to get into some shady nightclub and you go up to the door and maybe the bouncer's there, and maybe that's a plot point, where you have to try and talk to the bouncer and try to get through the door. And maybe when you flip over that card to say what the different challenges are that you can use, it may be that you're either trying to use logic, could be like a cunning check, and you're trying to talk to him and convince him to, a logical reason. Maybe you're just trying to trick him, fast talk him. That would be a finesse roll. Maybe you're trying to bully him or intimidate him. And it really doesn't matter. It could be like, do you know who my father is? Or, I know who owns this place. It could be that sort of thing. Not necessarily that you're trying to twist his arm or something like that, but who knows? Maybe that's your way of communication. So yeah, if it's an important conversation, if it's an important thing in the game, then we would kind of treat it as a plot point. Now, how does that information get disseminated to the rest of the group? I think one of his questions was, does that mean that all of my characters now have that information? And I think it kind of depends on the scenario, and it kind of depends on the situation. So you'll have to look at that, on a case by case basis. I think one of the very first scenarios in the basic book, scenario number 2, the lost keys, you could assume that the minor plot points are people that you're going up to and talking to. And then, the person that talks to that minor plot point that gets that information, they're the person that then has to go and do the major plot point. So again, that could all be considered to be talking and conversations. You could even make a case for the idea that you could transfer that plot point to another character, using the normal transfer rules, right? And what would that represent? That would represent them telling the other person, hey, you need to go do this. And that means that person now has the plot point and could go up there and attempt the major. So it really depends on what the situation is. So within the framework of Pulp Alley, there is no special rules for talking. It is just kind of part of the game and just part of everything that's going on in the game. So hopefully that makes sense. Hey, is Vern Jeske on here tonight? I don't see a
I
Vern.
don't think I saw Vern.
Talking to a character uses might. Just insert any Vin Diesel dialogue. Okay, all right, very good, very good. Oh, what's up here on the last duel?
Not a positive review.
Not a positive. Have you watched it yet? Who's watched Last Duel?
Scott did. He watched it last night.
Yeah. I don't know. You see, things like that are always kind of fun to watch for me, and it's even if you're going to sit there and nitpick them apart and make fun of them.
Well, if they're pretty enough, that can sometimes help.
Yes, yeah. If the scenery is pretty enough, if the costumes are interesting enough, you can always come out of it with some cool ideas for a game, right? So I try to be somewhat forgiving on that stuff. What did Scott have to say about Last Duel? Last Duel is supposed to be told from 3 perspectives, so they should all be significantly different to be interesting, right? Except all 3 perspectives is the same. Hmm. What's the Japanese film that is like that? There's an old Japanese film that does that, and it does it really, really well. It's got Toshiro Mifune in it, and that's the only actor that I can really think of at the moment. But it's a story about a murder, a killing, and I think there is like the wife tells the story of it, and the robber, the bandit, tells the story of it, and the samurai tells the story of it. And then what is cool, and I bet you didn't get this in Last Duel, at the end of the story, the ghost of the murdered fellow tells the story as well. So that was kind of cool too. What I found so funny, and this was actually a really cool thing in it, is that when the samurai told the story, um, the fighting was very much like samurai cinema sort of stuff. It was all, nice action scenes and yada, yada, yada. It was really, really cool. But then when the wife told the story, it was either when the wife told the story or the bandit told the story, the fighting was an absolute joke, and they were like swinging at each other and just like ducking and running away, and then like backing up and then trying to run up and stab, and it was just like it was nowhere near. It was probably closer to how the real fighting occurred rather than the really nice, clean, dramatic fighting that the samurai
Rashomon.
shun. Rashomon, yeah, that sounds like it's probably it. Yeah. Yeah, really, really cool. Really, really cool. Yeah, that probably is a Kurosawa. That sounds right. Uh, hey, Scott's on here. Hey, buddy. So I do have a couple questions I was hoping to ask you guys about. What do you guys think about continuing the that scenario on Sunday and going on with those 2 leagues? I would like to start trying to do some different settings, but I don't really have, the figures ready to go yet. So I would like to do some different things. Um, but I think just for fun for Sunday, I think it would be fun to go ahead and continue on with Lady Constance and the survivors of the airship and kind of continuing their story a little bit. So we might do that for 2 or 3 stories at a time before we switch over to a different story. Just a reminder, this Sunday we will be playing. Vern Jeske will be joining us, and if you would like to join us for a live game and play, all you got to do is say, "I want to do it too," and we'll try and get you signed up. So I think Vern is this Sunday, and then
It's Michael, right?
I think Michael Greenhill is the Sunday after that. So I was putting together this pack for the for Minerva's Mercenaries, and you guys have seen this. You probably can't see it there, but you know what I'm talking about. It's the pack of Minerva's Mercenaries. It's 3 miniatures in there. They have their melee weapons, and what I'm wondering about is, should we do a version of these that have different cards and different weapons? So doing a pack that includes the ranged weapons, and then have different versions of these characters, or just different characters completely, different names and everything, that have characters that have some ranged weapons. Would that be worth doing? Do you guys think that, because you could basically do it already? All you have to do is you buy this pack, you get the weapons pack, the ranged weapons, and you can already do it. It's not like it's something that you can't do. But I was just wondering if it would be good to have it pre-made, and then to have character cards also that were pre-made for just the ranged weapons. So let me know on that, what you guys think about that. And then the other thing that I was thinking is that I'd like to have for for uh, for Fang, for the Shadow Tong. I've been thinking that I would like to have a group of female thugs. So like the Hatchet Men and the that we have for Fang's group right now. I thought it would be fun maybe to have like a pack of 3 female martial artists that would be real easy to fit into that league. And then that pack could also go into a lot of different stuff as just a group of allies. They could go into they could work really well for Minerva. They could be a Minerva's league as well,
Mhm.
where she,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
as Minerva travels around the world, she very typically hires local muscle. So that could just be the group of people that she hires wherever she was going to. So Ujarak, Kadim, and Taklo are not supposed to be like permanent members of her league. She fires them, or when she sails off and leaves them behind to pay the piper for her crimes. She has to hire new folks wherever she goes to. And then they could also be used. I was thinking, Captain Wolf's League. They could be part of the Wolf's
Hmm.
crew, and on and on and on. So I think a nice pack of some female martial artists in just very typical traditional Chinese garb would be interesting. Let me know what you guys think about that. Is that worth doing or not? Let's see what we have here. What kind of comments are popping up here?
They like the pre-made idea,
Uh, on
Scott.
some robots. I
Huh.
would like to see if I could get him to do us a robot for. Yeah, I would like to see if we could get him to do us a robot. Like pre-made, don't like to think too much. Okay, very good. Try to avoid that whenever possible. Uh, okay, different characters. Okay, can't go wrong on VSF. Marty says one of my players is currently running League of Shadows in Tomb of the Serpent right now. Be nice to have some color to his league. Very cool. Same for Fang. DW Low says I've already given some of his hatchetmen different weapons. Yep. Enjoy pre-made. Most of my time on terrain. Very good. Very good. Manny, some female shadow tongue. Yep. Yep. So I don't know how many of you saw the pack of for Galgo's 4 assassins. Uh, um, but we Patrick Keith is sculpted us up some 4 assassins for our to finish out Galgo's league. So
That's gonna be
that's
awesome.
something that we're hoping to release this year. Plus, I want some tentacles. We're going to release a package of just tentacles because so many of our scenarios, and I love having tentacles just popping up out of the swamp or popping up out of manhole covers, or you know just stuff like that in the lagoon monster and things like that. It's fun to have some tentacles, that you can just kind of throw out there. So we're gonna do some tentacle monsters. Daniel says maybe your own Rifle Academy figures, as can't get the original. Yeah, yeah, that's really disappointing. I had no idea that Jason wasn't doing his figures anymore. I thought he had an absolutely amazing range of figures, but so many folks like that, they do that sort of thing on the side. So since they don't really treat it as a full-time job, it's easy for them to lay it down or to not spend as much time on it as maybe it requires to try and make it into something. But gosh, I hate that that whole line of figures has disappeared, because it had some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's a little on the slender side. It's a little bit smaller than our Pulp Alley figures. But who's the fellow that did those? It's like Paul Hicks or something, and I think that's kind of the size. So I think that they mesh up really well with a lot of figures that are out there. Foundry figures, I think a lot of those figures kind of match up to the stuff that he was doing. So, but yeah, kind of disappointing that they disappeared. I do think sometimes about doing different settings and about doing, Victorian sci-fi and stuff like that. But, you know, I guess part of what limits me is that we've invested so much money into our current line of figures that we kind of need to make sure that there's a return on that investment before we start spreading out into other genres as well. See what Scott has to say here. If anyone wants to see something super cool, the junk robots from Patrick Keith are super, super cool. I don't think I've seen those. I don't think I've seen the junk robots. I do like that big robot that we have. I think I might still have one of those. Maybe not though. Um, okay. I think I've hit the end of my stuff here. Did we have any questions come up today?
I don't think so. I think you've answered anything that popped up.
Okay. All right. A big thank you to everybody. If you didn't already, please take a moment right now while I'm mentioning it and make sure you hit that like button. We talked about this a little bit earlier today, that for a while it really felt like we were shadow banned, for whatever reason. Basically, what occurred is that we were still getting relatively about the same number of views, but our number of subscribers just like stalled significantly. Whereas we were getting, you go back maybe like 6 months or so ago, we were getting, 3 to 4 subscribers almost every day. Um, and then all of a sudden it went down to like one subscriber like every 3 days, or something like that. And it was just like, wow, it's a huge difference. And it was all of a sudden, it was just like they decided not to put us in front of anybody that wasn't already a subscriber. Now, I don't know why they do that sort of thing. There's a lot of, theories about it, but
Well, I have mine
yeah, we all have our theories about why they do it.
because you were being mean to Monopoly.
It may have been because I besmirched the honor of a very, very crappy game called Monopoly.
Do you remember where you got your lemon pops, the figure from?
I think you said they were old Games Workshop figures. Yeah, yeah. Spore mines. I guess if you do a search for spore mines, they were either they may have been part of the Necromunda series, or they may have just been part of the Warhammer 40K stuff. But I think if you do a search for spore mines, and I think that they came like 3 or 4 to a package, maybe 5. I don't really remember. Little tiny things. Yeah, Robert Reynolds says spore mine. Yeah. Spoke during your 12-minute rules talks. Could you talk about stealth? Absolutely, I could. There is a video out there that does talk about stealth right now, and
How to use the hidden event at the beginning of the scenario.
yeah, it can be tricky. Too often, I think that's not a particularly helpful event. It can be in some scenarios, but a lot of times it's really not that big a deal. And the reason is because it's wonderful if it lands on a character which you were really planning on not running around and doing a lot. If it's a character that you were planning on using to kind of maybe hang back and sniper at people, yeah, then that's a good character to be hidden. Um, But a lot of times, Pulp Alley is very unkind to stealth a lot of times because it's a game of action and adventure. You're supposed to be running and going and doing stuff. And if you're hiding around a corner and just waiting, then the game's going to probably pass you by, and you're just not doing enough. Pulp Alley has too much to do in it to just sit and hide. Just not going to work all that well. But in second edition, it works better than it did in first edition, and we are a little more kinder to it than we used to be. You almost have to build a stealth league. If you really want to use stealth effectively, you almost have to use a stealth league. There are some characters like Minerva. If you have a high finesse, you can get away with being stealthy once in a while and really surprise people. But the idea of being stealthy all the time doesn't really you normally work out all that well. Five-or Tyrannid monster, possibly something like that. I think the video was Shadow Band. I think that video. my Monopoly rant. I love Monopoly. I don't know if I've mentioned how much we really like that Monopoly game.
Oh, that is the classic all-American game, bro.
Almost.
Name a game everybody knows.
Yeah. No, I agree, and you're exactly right. That's why folks like, I don't know, Taylor Swift is an absolutely amazing entertainer as well, probably the best ever in the history of the world, because everyone knows her name, so she must be the best.
Well, I don't want to get us shadow banned more, so I'll just say okay.
There you go. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. If you're not a subscriber, please make sure you click that subscribe button. That's the only way to make sure you're going to get a chance to watch our videos. We have a live game coming up on Sunday, and you don't want to miss that. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Wake up the orchestra. Wake up the baby.
Oh, the baby's awake.
Night, everybody. Dun 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 dun.